I am so lucky for you to be here. Thank you. This is for anyone who wants to do more and who can do more. You have options in the description below. Please pick the one that fits you best. I always suggest the membership program because it is the most affordable way to support the channel without thinking so hard. But understand that by you watching from start to finish, interacting with the video, liking the video, subscribing, pushes my algorithm forward and helps me a ton as well. Thank you so much. I think by now we are all aware of the horrible tragedy in regards to the submersible. I wouldn't even call it a submarine. I think they made it very clear not to call it a submarine, a submersible. Unfortunately, the passengers of the submersible are not alive. They've been imploded. Now listen to me, I have an opinion about this, of course, but let's dissect a little bit about this crazy story. And yeah, that's that. Now, look, for those who are new here, I'm Alistair Nzekio, and this is just my point of view. Let's go. Okay, first and foremost, who were the passengers? I'm going to be very quick with that, so please stick with me. The first one is a British businessman, Hamish Harding, apparently a billionaire. Pakistani businessman, Shahzada Dawood, and his teenage son, Suleman. French explorer Paul-Henri Nargeolet, and Stockton Rush, CEO of OceanGate, the company that operates the vessel. I'm going to fast forward this because everybody there was a victim except for the CEO. Mr. Stockton, here is why you are lucky that nobody paid attention to the string of mishaps that you created, which caused the death of these innocent passengers. Because as a CEO, let me tell you this right now, the responsibility, the crown you wear is very heavy. Everybody likes to dream about being a CEO. It is a very heavy crown because mistakes has ripple effect beyond your imagining. This particular CEO killed people. Happened that he was part of this wreckage. Imagine if he was alive. That would have been jail time. You guys, including me, will not be nice to this guy. So why are we being nice to him because he's dead? Not me. It's my opinion. I'm not nice to him. He's a jerk. I'll tell you why he's a jerk.
Now, a local deep-sea engineer out of Alameda says OceanGate CEO ignored early warning signs that the material used to build the submersible wasn't safe. ABC 7 News reporter Lena Howland brings us this story.
Long before a Titan submersible carrying 5 people on a quest to see the Titanic wreckage lost all communications before later imploding, came the early warnings.
We all told him, you know, someone is going to be killed in this thing, and you've got to not do it.
OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush paid a visit to Alameda back in 2015 while he was in the thick of building his submersible to meet with Liz Taylor. Taylor is a deep-sea engineer and president of DOER Marine Operations, where they build their own submersibles. He wanted to hear her findings from a research project.
Stockton felt like he was pushing the edge. He wanted to push the envelope, use some new materials.
And that's when Taylor specifically advised against the use of carbon fiber, as it's still experimental and has not been tested over time in extreme depths of the ocean.
It being hollow on the inside, or just, you know, one atmosphere on the inside, and having the tremendous pressure of the ocean, trying to push in on it. It just doesn't, it's not the right material.
Then in 2018, the Manned Submersible Committee of the Marine Technological Society backed her up, writing a letter also urging Rush not to proceed. Ignoring all warnings, he moved forward.
So where this really went kind of askew was that it was like, I don't need that. I've done the math, you know, I'm confident in my engineering.
Taylor says Rush cut obvious corners, like not building his sub in a pair to have self-rescue capacity, or with what's called an ROV. That's a remotely operated vehicle that can serve as a self-rescue tool.
There was no capable ROV on board. There was no second submersible.
And she says because Rush was technically operating in international waters, there was no way of stopping him.
So when this happened through this combination of, you know, hubris, complacency, and greed, it was incredibly frustrating and so sad for the families that they didn't have Maybe they just had no idea of the true level of risk that they were putting themselves at.
That's why he's a jerk. Well, that's the first reason why he's a jerk. Listen, if someone told you to jump off a plane without a parachute, would you do it? Exactly. There is a level of responsibility as a human being. Nobody knows everything. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. I don't know how to do an operation. I don't know how to do an organ transplant. Am I going to try it? Absolutely not. And this is why this CEO is a jerk, because he understands. He understands that concept. As a CEO, he should. He understands that concept that you cannot operate an operation by yourself. He probably went to the engineer because he wanted to do the right thing, which is, let's get a professional look at it and give me the professional point of view. And the professional said, honey, this submersible is crap. Not only did the professional engineer said that, the professional engineer who builds their own submersible successfully, but the governing body that oversees that submersibles are constructed properly even wrote him a letter saying, no, my dear, your submersible is shit. No, he said, to hell you all. I don't care. I don't care. And I think he said that because he knew they couldn't stop him. He was very well aware that the operation is under international water, so he had the full confidence that even if they disagree, they can't stop me. I can do whatever I want because I'm on international waters. And that's the second reason why he's a complete jerk. Because he knew exactly what he was going to do. He knew exactly his vessel was not safe. And he knew exactly nobody could stop him. And he took the responsibility of taking these people's lives. I get to them also in a little bit. Yeah, me and my opinions. You know I have plenty of them. Now, second thing the engineer said. Greed, 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 greed. Greed is a trait. Greed is a trait. It's a trait. Not everybody is born greedy. Okay? Greed is a trait, and it's a misconception. There's a misconception, especially in business, that you need to always do more and be greedy. I have news for you. That's not the case. But let's dissect the word greed. It pertains to the CEO. So the ticket was $250,000. Yes. Anyway, but here's how it was advertised. A chance to become one of the few to see the Titanic with your own eyes. Securing a seat will cost you $250,000. Now, you might say to yourself, like, wow, only the rich people can afford it. No, you don't understand. You don't understand, because even the average person was willing to go and spend the money. Listen to this. Last year, the tours attracted people of all income levels, despite the high sticker price. They've had people who have mortgaged their home, idiots, to come and do the trip. Idiots. And we have people who don't think twice about a trip of this cost. Listen to me. If you have to listen to me very carefully, I don't know how you do your finances. That's your business. But I can tell you right now, if someone that I know told me that they mortgaged $250,000 just to go on the trip on the Titanic, I smacked themselves in the head and said, you can't afford it. If you have to mortgage for a vacation, you cannot afford it. What are you doing? I digress. That's not even the point. My point is they're going to greed. And the greed is, what conscience is it that you allow your customers to mortgage knowing that these people can't afford it, but you allow them to mortgage? No. Like, it speaks a lot about his character. You know, he understands all the risk. He understands that nobody can stop him. He understands that people cannot afford this price and people are mortgaging, idiots, their homes to have a couple hours under the sea. He understands that, and he goes to bed at night all well and sleeps in sound. Ethics is very important. Now, let's look at the passengers, because I don't give them a free pass also. Okay?
What is the process like to be able to be on that submersible?
Obviously, it was expensive, but it was less than half of what they are quoting now, because I was grandfathered in from 2019, rather. So the process is you have to have a physical. You have to be able to go up and down ladders and not be claustrophobic, hopefully. And you have to sign a very long waiver. And I've read, even though I don't remember it, how it mentions the word death 3 times on the first page. I have read, I don't remember that. And then you have to be accepted. And I don't know if they ever turned anybody down, but I was accepted and ready to go.
So here's a real question, at least in my book, before I dive in and give my opinion on the passengers. Did they know of the security risk? Did they know that these potential submersible did not fit the required safety protocols? Did they know? Did they know? Because if they did know, I told you I'll tell you my opinion. Did they know? Well, let's see if they knew.
Jay, I know initially you and Sean were both very intrigued by taking a trip on the Titan, right? You're in that small group of people, right, that just have that intrepid curiosity. You were curious about it. When you first learned that the Titan was missing, and then on those days they were hoping for rescue, you're imagining like everybody else, but for you it's different, that it could have been you down there, right, gasping for air. Then you find out it imploded. And you keep seeing images of the father and son who did take your seats. What went through your mind?
That's important. These two that we're seeing were supposed to be where the father and son unfortunately died. But they declined. They declined to get the tickets, honey. Why did they decline? Remember, now I'm trying to figure out, did the passengers knew of the risk? Okay? They declined. Why did that father and son decline, but their ticket went to the father and son who did not decline? Let's figure this out.
When the news initially broke, before the news initially broke, when we were considering actually going on the submarine ourselves, one of the safety concerns I had before getting on was literally about the structural integrity of the submarine. Before we got on, I saw a video of Stockton explaining how the submarine worked with the remote and everything like that, and I saw a lot of red flags with it, and it was only meant for 5 people, and I just didn't think that it could survive, you know, going that low into the ocean. So ultimately, I ended up warning my dad about it, and he ended up agreeing with me. And when we tried to ask Stockton questions, he kind of, you know, brushed it off a little bit. So it's kind of red flags from the start. And then when the story came out, you know, on the first day, initially we thought that the first thing we thought is that the submarine imploded, because it's very difficult for a submarine of that size to get to the bottom of the ocean and not implode. But that was the first thing that went through our head, was it either imploded or it got stuck under the Titanic on the first day.
Right, and I know, you know, you had these concerns. Jay, what's interesting is you had an exchange with Stockton Rush in April. He says, quote, have space on mission 1 and 2 last minute. Price is $150 per person. You reply, I'll check my schedule and see if I can make it work. 3 days later, he says, any luck? And at one point, I know that he went to Vegas. He actually traveled to Vegas to see you, to try to meet with you, to close the deal. Now, Jay's sitting here talking about red flags. What about that trip raised a red flag to you? I mean, he came all the way to see you to try to get you to buy these tickets.
Yeah. You know, Stockton, I think his heart was in the right place, and he really was passionate about his project, and he believed everything he was saying. But one of the things that concerned me was he told me he was flying in to see me, and he was landing at North Las Vegas Airport, which is an odd selection. Most people that come in privately come into either McCarran, which is now Harry Reid International, or they come into Henderson Executive. And I asked him why, and he said he was coming in on a 2-seater experimental plane that he built. And I started to think about, he's coming in on a 2-seater experimental plane to pitch me out to go on a 5-seater experimental sub that he built down to the ocean floor to see the Titanic. And it was he has a different risk appetite than I do. I'm a pilot. I have my helicopter pilot's license. I wouldn't get into an experimental aircraft.
I mean, Sean, when you think about what happened here and how close you were to being on this, right? I mean, I know that you all thought about it. Did you ever convey to Stockton Rush safety concerns? I mean, I know at one point, Jay, you talked about a friend of Sean's who was worried about things like a squid hitting it, and he dismissed those concerns. But did you talk to him about some of your serious structural issues and worries that you had?
Yeah, he came out to Las Vegas in March to see me. We met a couple of times in person, but the March trip, he came out. He actually took me through the Titanic exhibition at the Luxor, and then we had lunch after. And we talked about the expedition that he wanted to go on, and he walked me through it. And then we talked about the safety concerns. And I think he had so much passion for the project that he was blinded by it. He wasn't objective, and he didn't look at things that I saw and that others saw that were problematic because it just didn't fit his narrative.
Sean,
it's unfortunate,
I mean, it's tragic. And Sean, I began by saying you and your dad are the kinds of people who would consider something like this. You're already in a small group, right, of people who find this to be something that could, instill curiosity as opposed to, right? So where are you now? Has this changed how you see it? Would you ever consider doing a trip like this again now that you've seen this happen?
I mean, it's very sad and tragic that I kind of predicted this outcome. My dad was very excited to go, and he was very excited to take me because I was obsessed with the Titanic as a little kid, and I was really looking forward to doing it. But the second I saw the submarine and how it worked, like I knew that one of the first outcomes, me and my friend Simon, actually, that friend that everyone was talking about, we both knew immediately that this submarine couldn't make it to the bottom of the ocean. And it's sad that our prediction came true. But as far as us doing something like this ever again, I mean, the ocean is scarier than space. We know more about space than we do about the ocean. And it's definitely not something we're ever going to be trying.
There you have it. So, the passengers knew. And I can tell you right now, because I have experience with insurance, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell they would take passengers on any sort of vessel without an instructional situation. If you go on an airplane, they have to give you the instructional video how to escape the airplane if it crashes. You think it's because they like you? Absolutely not. Insurance requires it. If you go bungee jumping, diving off the airplane, even scuba diving, insurance have a hand into that because nobody wants to pay if you die. So, did the passengers knew? Absolutely. And that changes how I feel about them. 100%. Because I'm going to tell you something. One of them, the father and son. Dad, listen to me. This is what the CEO said. This is what the CEO said with his own words. When people were telling him, your vessel is not safe. He said, safety is just pure waste. And that quote was posted on the website of OceanGate. So you mean to tell me you want to go in the butt of the ocean, you don't go and check the website of the company, and you see something that says like that safety is pure waste, and you're going to go, oh, let's just pay $250K and go on this trip? Absolutely not. That's negligence there. Now, if you look at the disclaimer situation, because people are saying, oh, because there's a co-CEO, by the way. There's a co-CEO to this Titanic mess. The co-CEO name is Guillermo Suleman. I apologize if I mess up his name. He's there. And no lawsuit's going to happen. I'm telling you this right now. OceanGate is not going to be sued to death. No, because the disclaimers are very specific. And the disclaimers doesn't even name you as a tourist. Do you understand this? The disclaimer that all of them signed puts them as co-founders, pretty much. You're not even considered a passenger on the paper you signed. So you can't even claim, I don't know, if anything, that is gross negligence of the person who signed the paperwork. That's not the court is going to throw these lawsuits out. Because in the disclaimer, it tells you, we were not approved. The safety concerns. It tells you in the disclaimer. It tells you how many times? 3 times. 3 times. These passengers signed disclaimers knowing 3 times that this vessel passed no accredited inspections. Well, let me tell you something. That changes my perception of how I look at these passengers. To me, they look crazy. Absolutely crazy. Here are some of what the disclaimer stuff says. That they're considered mission specialists, trained for it, and that they are aware of the risk. If I ever get on an airplane, mission specialist, no, I'm just a regular person getting on an airplane. No. The paperwork that I signed considers me as a willful volunteer, not a passenger, a volunteer of the mission specialist. Do you understand? I'm surprised these people with high net worth were stupid enough not to have a lawyer look at these disclaimers. They knew what they were getting into. This is the statement from the co-CEO. And yeah, and it's a sad thing that they died doing something that they were passionate about. You think those words are very well related and correlated with mission specialist. You don't think that co-CEO is not lowered up? Please, he's lowered up. Don't make no mistake. Now, you have an international group of agencies that's investing in the company. They're not going to find anything. They operate under international waters, meaning they're not bound to the laws of anything. And those disclaimers, these people were willing for volunteers. Nothing is going to happen to this company. It's up to you, person who go and purchase the tickets, to read what you sign. Read what you signed. Let me just take this quick moment to point out this important thing. If you like the video so far, press like. Thank you so much. Let's continue. Here is where I get very irritated with this, because these people are no dummies. This is not like your average uneducated person down the street. These are CEOs. These are people who know the drill of paperwork, insurances. They have the funds to hire lawyers to read disclaimers. These are people who have the ability to do the due diligence. What happened? What happened? What made them so blind to the risk? The risk is plastered all over the place. I'll tell you what happened. The reason why they all ignored all of these red flags is because the OceanGate CEO, the big jerk, probably personally flew to personally guarantee their safety, not on paper. That's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. I'll tell you why it's a big no-no. If you can't guarantee my safety on paper, what makes you think it's going to be guaranteed off paper? I'm not even that big of a guy, right? It's just common sense. And the other big no-no, these people have, these are fathers. These are people who have families. At what point do you stop and blink a few times and be like, no, you know what? No. There is a sense, there's a narcissistic sense to everybody there on board except the little boy, except the 19-year-old. It's this idea that, yeah, nothing's going to happen. It's this idea that, you know, it's me, darling. Nothing's going to happen to me. I was absolutely disgusted of the accident, and I was absolutely disgusted even more when I found out that these passengers knew. They knew. They still went, and they want me to feel sorry for them. I'm sorry, I cannot. I'm not built like that. I'm not built that way. Are you shocked? Don't be shocked. I have many facades to myself, right? I'm not one-dimensional. And I'll be honest with you. I tell you why I'm upset at these 5. When you look at the media, they are occupying the airwaves. They are occupying the airwaves of my TV, of my life. Do you know who deserves more attention? I tell you who deserves more attention. You know what? Matter of fact, let's do it now.
We're learning more about the deaths of at least 78 migrants whose boat capsized in the Mediterranean Sea. Hundreds more are still feared missing. An aerial image shows dozens of people crammed onto the upper deck before the boat flipped. Wow. Most were not wearing life jackets. Around 100 people were rescued. One survivor told doctors he saw around 100 children inside the hull of the boat, which Greek officials believe left Libya on a voyage to Italy. We're learning more about the deaths of at least...
Exactly. That boat capsized when at the same time these 5 passengers, those vessel specialists, also capsized. The media completely drowned the people. The biggest tragedy. I was scratching my leg, my thigh, not my crouch. Anyway, like the biggest tragedy is not those people who signed those waivers. It's the migrant boat. Did you see how big that boat was? Capsize. Capsize. People went inside. Capsize. Why am I going to spend my valuable energy to care about people who signed waivers to go ahead in the bottom of the ocean and implode and die, knowing very damn well that the ship they're going into is not safe? These migrants were traveling for a better life. Do you understand the difference here? So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at these. I'm picking my words carefully because of course I'm going to offend someone. Look, listen to me very carefully because this gets me so mad. Because as I'm looking at, I pay attention to the world. All I can hear about is these passengers and this OceanGate, these people. But there's a bigger tragedy in that. And you know what people say over there online? Stay in your country. Stay in your country. Why do you make the trip? I can't even understand. I can't even understand. But that's the reason why the migrant boat was not, on the top of the news of the story, because it's bad for the ratings. Oh, we don't like migrants. Oh no, not the migrants. They're not really wanted. Why did they leave the country? But no, look at this awesome 5 rich people over there who died, imploded, and the awful CEO. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So no, I don't feel an ounce of sympathy. I don't feel bad at all for the passengers of the OceanGate. You can throw tomatoes at me, I will dodge them all, 100%. Because it's unacceptable to me. Especially the parents of the 19-year-old. Listen to me. I have a kid. I can tell you right now, and I don't know, you guys are parents. I don't move through my life without thinking, how does that affect my kid? If I ever go, look, when we went to Seattle, we went to do the needle. You best believe. I'm like, let me analyze a few things. What's the safety risk? What's the safety situation? If I have a say in it, I'm not putting my kid in harm's way. Forget the grown-ups. They're grown-ups, but you have a 19-year-old. What are you doing? Going through all these classes, signing the waivers away. You have the money to hire a lawyer and double check. What are you doing? That's the most tragic. It's the boy. Everybody else, it's the 19-year-old because he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He follows his dad blindly because he trusts dad. I blame all the grown-ups. The only person I feel sad for is a 19-year-old. He had no idea. Let's go to my final thought. By the way, why do you think there's not massive lawsuits coming from the families? Because they sign waivers. Please, you don't think these rich people have lawyers lined up? No, those waivers were ironclad. Ironclad. Matter of fact, I guarantee you they probably were like, oh my God, why did you sign this? Yeah. Important story I wanted to make. That's my final thought. It's a big tragedy that these people died. However, the biggest tragedy is not them. The biggest tragedy is the migrant boat that capsized. That is a tragedy. Let's talk. Okay, so for those who are new here, my Let's Talk segment is really where I just let my hair down and talk about anything and everything. No, but listen, if you haven't done so, press like, and welcome to the Let's Talk. How are you doing? I'll be honest with you, I think I mentioned to you on the first video, these are pre-recorded, and I have to stay off the comment section a little bit for a while until I put order into this YouTube situation, because I have to approach it from a completely different angle. Enough about that. Yeah, this story made me very heated. It did. I remember when you know how passionate I am, how impulsive I am. I have a condition. I'm pretty impulsive. And the more I heard about these OceanGate people, it got me really pissed because I wanted to find out what is happening with those migrants. And anywhere I looked, all I saw was those 5 faces. And it got me very angry. I have a temper. It got me very angry. And I'm like, F that. F that. No. What about the migrants? What happened to them? What's going on? Are you going to change the laws? What is happening? You know, and it goes both ways, right? Because the migrants come to the country for a better life, but the country of origin needs to get the shit together as well. So it goes both ways. And the economics of migration benefits the country that's being immigrated to. I explained to you why. Very easy. You know, when you're born, you go to the hospital, right? You pay the bills, right? Someone has to feed you. You have to, you are taking social resources because you're a non-taxpayer before you're 18. Quite frankly, before you get your real job. You're a non-taxpayer. You are a burden on the societal taxes. That's what they call it. So when you immigrate, when you take your 2 feet and you go somewhere else, because to do that, you have to be mostly of taxpayer age, but whatever the case may be, right? You become essentially cheap labor to the new country because they didn't have to raise you. They didn't have to feed you. They didn't have to give you security. You come in and start working and pay taxes. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'll tell you another insight. And it's because if you're not an immigrant, you may not understand that. But do you know immigration laws are competitive across the first world nations because they want to attract immigrants, because they understand the value of immigrant power. Now, we do not have an immigration problem. We have a border problem, but we don't have an immigration problem. And that's what people don't seem to understand. The economics behind it, yeah, it's not that difficult if you really look there and search a little bit, but immigrants are needed. Oh my God, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. The brain drain is a real thing. Like, the brain drain is a real thing. I can go on and on and on about that. But the real losers, of course, is the one who lost that, the immigrants who lost their lives. But the real losers in the long term is the country who lose that brain drain. Because brain drain can cripple you to the point where you never recover. Okay? It's so sad. Families sold everything for a better life only to be trapped on a boat with capsized. A boat of that size, capsize? No, honey. A lot of people are dead. A lot. Oh, forget about these people. Those 5 idiots. Listen. Did you have a good Pride Month? You're like, what the fuck? I hope you had a good Pride Month. Pride is such an important thing. Oh, the month is over. What are you talking about, Pride? No. I'll tell you why Pride is such a good thing. And I'm sorry for not saying Happy Pride. Sorry, busy. I'm being interrupted. Yes, I'm filming.
They're here. Here's money for Fernando.
Oh, is Fernando not here?
It's not upstairs. I don't know where it is. So when they're done, give it to them.
Okay. I'm ready. What is that? Oh. I'm multitasking here. Yeah, it's money. Yeah. Bills to pay, please. We have bills to pay. It's expensive. Life is expensive. We have bills to pay, so we all need to work. Okay, so I got interrupted. What else am I going to talk about? I forgot what else did I say I wanted to talk to you about. I forgot. Well, I have 3 minutes. Oh, right, a story. I'll tell you a story. So, you know, I'm a curious person and I ask a lot of questions, and I have no qualms in experiencing stuff for the first time within reasons. I'm certainly not going and look for the Titanic though. No. I'm not setting my life away when it says you're going to die 5,000 times. Absolutely not. Good luck with that. Anyway, I digress. Now, look, so, I have friends of all walks of life. And one of my friends has a sex addiction. what? Yeah, it's a thing. Apparently, it's a thing. So he has like AA meetings for the sex people. And I said, can I please ask your group? It's okay. I just want to go there and just learn and experience it. And he said he'll ask. And yeah, he said yes. I was amazed at some of these addictions. Some of those like fetishes / addictions. I mean, I knew about the poop and piss fetish. Like everybody knows that. Like that's gross, of course. Not judging. It's behind closed doors. Do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt nobody. Like don't force anyone to eat anything, right? But wait. There's like pregnancy fetish. Like you just love the pregnancy stuff. I'm like, how does that work? It takes 9 months to cook. That's not sustainable. You can't have 8,000 kids, right? Like, how does that work? What? Like full-blown pregnancies. Like not just like I'm pregnant but I don't show. It's like I'm pregnant. And I was like, wow, how do you deal with that? That's a tough fetish to have. Then there's like boob milk. It's like, wait, that's another hard one. Because you got to be pregnant and lactating. Like, that's a lot of steps. What? How did they get that fixed? And I'm sitting there like, and it's a real issue and problem. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea people have these kind of problems. And, you know, I was respectful, of course, but I was like, first of all, I didn't ask any questions while they were talking because I didn't want to intrude. I waited until some person came and asked me questions. Then I was like, okay, well, since you opened the door, I'm going to ask questions. But then I knew about the underwear fetish, please. Some people like you wear your underwear for a week and then you give it to them. Some people love that. That's okay, that's fine. Wait, there's another one. That one was vomit. I knew about the piss and shit one. I didn't know about the vomit. And I'm sitting there like, that's also not sustainable. Like, that's like, okay, acid reflux. Like, that's a lot of... These are not sustainable fetishes. I was just like, okay, the piss one, sustainable. Everybody drinks, everybody piss. The shit one, sustainable. Everybody eats, everybody shits without anything extra, right? Extra harm. But the pregnancy one, how many times do you get pregnant? And the vomit, that's gonna burn your esophagus. I mean, and you know what was so mesmerizing is how they really were into it. Like it was like, and it was taking over their lives. They were obsessed about it, and it was like, wow. I'm not telling you my friend's addiction is out of respect for him, in case he watches this, but it was such an eye opener. I very sheltered I am. Look at me, just enjoying good missionary. I mean, I don't know. Like, look at me, just enjoy. I guess I'm boring. What? It was eye opener. Vomit. And then how do you lay down? Okay, all right. Vomit. How about the diseases, transmission? Like where's the gloves and the mask? I was just like, okay. And pregnancy. Like, I've never been pregnant, but I don't think when you're heavy pregnant, I don't think you want to lay down and spread. I think you're like, leave me alone. What do you want? I'm pregnant. Like, I'm assuming, it's uncomfortable. There's a baby punching you in the stomach. Like, get me out. And the last thing you need is something in there, right? I'm thinking rationally. I was like, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. I guess that's why they have to go to this rehab situation to get them to think out of it, because it's not sustainable. Anyway, I have to go and edit. Bye. I love you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.